Hi, my name is Dave Leinweber. It's a pleasure to be down here in Mexico City for the Riskmathics. I've been involved with algorithmic trading almost since there's been algorithmic trading. I was the co-founder of a company called Integrated Analytics that was acquired by the investment technology booth and Jeopardy, like a mid-sized brokerage in the U.S. Back in the early 90s. That was when high-frequency trading meant once a second, once every 5 seconds. It was still faster than people were doing it for the most part. But it was limited by the electronics of the day and the weariness of the people of the time. Let the computers started full tilt in the 70s. Most of our customers wanted to look at the trade list before they were actually sent to the execution systems, which would put a delay in. This is, again, the early 90s. Soon the ones who realized they never changed trade lists, realized they had a second-degree advantage over the ones who did, and they went on the full-on pattern. But still, in those years, electronic trading represented a relatively small portion of the bodies lighting the world. Trading was still in 16ths then, 6.5 cents. There was still a market maker system and a specialist system on the floor on NASDAQ and at the NYSE respectively. So it was less of a wild ride than it is now. After we sold our company to Jefferies, I became a quantitative where I ran $6 billion in quantitative equities across 5 countries and 27 different strategies: market neutral, long only, enhanced index, value tilt, growth tilt, and the like. When you're running quant money, it's very easy to change the strategy or tune the knobs and just sort of use the same models, but use a different portfolio construction method. And subsequent to that, I left after 7 years as a quant manager. I left and I founded a company called Codexa, which was about using machines to understand non-numerical information. Market data, trades, quotes, books is all structured numerical information. There's a lot of news, there's a lot of SEC filings, there's a lot of court filings, there are a lot of other governmental documents and private documents research. And machines can be useful in finding what's interesting in those. We do that every day. Every time we go to Google or Bing or any of the search engines. I founded that company sort of at the wrong time, to 1999, right before the bubble burst. And this is how you become a visiting professor at Caltech, which was down the street from us. And then I started an academic and consulting career. I had a number of the programmers from the companies we had founded. But I was teaching at Caltech and at Berkeley, and then was invited to move to the Berkeley National Lab, where I founded the Center for Innovative Financial Technology. Along the way, I wrote a really popular level book, a non-technical book about what had happened to markets. I can't claim to have invented it, but I was in the right place at the right time when things were simpler and you could understand them. And I used a lot of pictures, a lot of analogies, a lot of simple language to explain what was going on to really a non-Wall Street audience. And that's the book Nerds on Wall Street, which I see a stack of copies outside, and I'll be talking about in about an hour to the large crowd. If this is compounded with the videos from this morning, a good deal of material from the beginning of Nerds on Wall Street is there in the evolution of trading. The book was written before the flash crash and the various fiascos that we've had since with electronic markets, so they're not covered in there. It does talk. It was written after the 2008 crisis, so it does talk a little bit about that.
Thank you very much. Useful information. We're talking about this sage and analysts call it the lives of the machines and frame. How hard should it be? Is it tolerable that we get it till the last day?
I think if you do it responsibly and you do it the right way and you learn the lessons from the mistakes that we've seen in the United States. In the U.S., the markets are, as you say, highly roboticized. But they really weren't planned to be that way. It sort of just happened. There were a number of actions taken by the SEC, and I heard some of the other speakers referring to the national market system, the idea of having to shop around for best prices, the willingness to license additional trading venues, or ATSs, alternative trading venues, trading systems, has led to wildly complex markets with, depending on how you count, 50 or hundreds of moving parts interacting in ways that can be something of a surprise. And I think that if you were to keep it simple, you could avoid a lot of those kind of glitches. Then there's the question of keeping it fair. And that is another one where in the U.S., some people would say we haven't done a good job, particularly many of the buy-side firms would say we haven't done a good job of keeping it fair. That it's a technology race. There's a race to the bottom in latency, to the top in speed. And unless you're willing to employ some of the most technically advanced programmers and acquire the latest generation of hardware, and there's a new generation of hardware probably a couple of times a year, certainly in some areas. There are multiple generations of communications technology. In the movie that I showed to begin my talk, the Ken Slavin film, he shows SpreadNet. For a couple $100,000 a month, you can shave a few microseconds off of your communications time between New York and Chicago. And most buy-side firms, especially smaller ones, are not in a position to spend that amount of money to do that, nor do they have the internal technological human resources do it. So the buy-side firms are complaining that it's not fair. However, I will point out, and I write a blog for Forbes. If you just go to the Forbes site and type my name, you'll find all the old columns. And there's one of them that talks about the buy-side's complaint. I mean, people talk about the danger in the markets. But we have to remember that up until 1976, the buy-side was paying fixed commissions of 25 cents a share. And at the start of electronic execution, they dropped and they dropped and they dropped and they dropped. They went, past a dime, past a nickel, for many years in the early part of the 2000s. People were talking about paying a couple of pennies. Now you talk to a lot of outsiders and they talk about paying tens of pennies between commissions and fees. What they complain about occasionally are you might call it market impact. You might call it being front run. I mean, how charitable you want it to be. Is that while the actual cost of execution has gone down, the net price has gone up because the algorithms can see you coming. And there's some dramatic I think I saw in one of the other speaker's slides, you could add into this from Manex, the sort of the unofficial police of frequency trading world of a buy-side trader going out to make a purchase, and the price is just going up and up and up and up and up and up. Finally, it's clear that the buy-side trader has had enough of this. He's reached his limits. He's not going to be buying anymore. And you watch the price drop like a rock in a matter of less than a second to where it's starting to go up. And that kind of thing is, did he leave what?
So should it as well more regulation regarding these rules for us? Because algorithms are becoming like an arms race in trading, right? And it's you can see authorities trying to catch up to whatever comes next.
I think it may be what you see in the United States. It's you go at the end of my morning talk. There are Goldman Scott for I think video instead of doing it on the web. There was a slide to do there. I had a link to the SEC Technology and Roundtable going to a town in Washington. So the second and was back and go have the the site in Google SEC Technology April October 2nd, and you'll find videos of his, which is all about what the regulators should be doing. It's clear we've had so many embarrassing moments in the United States markets that it's clear some kind of regulation is needed. There are 50 different equity market fragments, and they're not likely to get together and decide what to do. They have no enforcement power if anybody participating in those markets decides to break the rules. So that's do the kind of stuff that I described with basically fraud running. So regulators have a role. It's important that people have faith and confidence in markets. And when somebody who's planning on living off of anything, the white stuff that probably can take the fact that was there, laugh at it. Once it's at a war in minutes, and some of it drop to zero, depending on which stock you have. You're saying Accenture on the winter, or somebody who knows why. Even though that any watch the stock drops from $40 to a penny in a matter of seconds, well, it's nice that it came up, but next time it might not. So I think in order to maintain confidence in the market, for any number of reasons, it's important that they be properly regulated.
Finally, as much as you are knowledgeable about it, how well prepared are emerging markets like Latin America to deal with these new challenges, new brave world of algorithmic trading?
Well, in the email you sent me, you referred to the Mexican flash crash, which I don't know was out. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about how that happened. What was it? Was it one stock?
It was a company, a portfolio manager that moved the market. It was a fat finger, actually. But the operation, when the president about it, the later said, well, the thing that happened with an algorithm, and it happened in fraction of a second. There was no way we could stop it. Mm-hmm. And it brought down the market on Friday afternoon.
The whole market? Or
the whole market. Oh. I mean, the whole index, our Dow Jones went down because it was a big operation. So it was a mistake. And they had to reverse it manually, sort of say, because the regulators agreed that this was a mistake. So let's roll back the whole operation. That is something you will see tomorrow in one of the panels. I'll raise the issue because in other countries that wouldn't happen. Here it happens because the regulators still handle things very much on gentlemen's agreements, So that was a good example of things to come. Actually, that portfolio management left the stock market and left the country.
Mm-hmm. And this happened last week?
No, it happened last April.
Well, less.
April, yeah, I mean, a few months ago.
And where did he go to? The United States? Where did he go? The United States?
It's actually among the competitive. So they left the country.
Because they were afraid of being...
Yeah, exactly. Penalized or something like that. The head of the national, or SEC, the National Banking and Stock Commission, said, well, it was not a mistake that it was done with ill intention. It was a fat finger. I mean, but it brought down the market. And you cannot have those things happening on a Friday afternoon. They had the whole weekend to roll it back. But otherwise, it would have been like a snowball. So it has already happened in Mexico. Before that, this was something that we discussed about the flash crash in 2010. Gee, look at the things that are happening over there. And now it came, and it showed that the authorities are barely prepared. So the regulator said, well, actually, one of the persons from that Mexican SEC, or one of the panels on a previous conference by Prismatics, said that we had no way to stop it. When we realized something had happened.
The fat finger errors are kind of hard to stop. I mean, many of them are in the historically the most dramatic ones are often in the Japanese market because the yen is so small.
Okay,
so there are Japanese shares that trade for 600,000 yen. So if you want to buy, if you want to sell 1,000 shares in 600,000 yen, you put in sell 1,600,000. But a fat finger error might be, if you've had a sake or two too many at lunch, you might sell, I want to sell 600,000 at 1,000. And you will find many, many buyers.
Yeah.
Or what do you do? It was clearly a fat finger error, but it was entered. It shows a defect in the software.
And it occurred in a fraction of a second. That's why nobody could stop it.
Some of it, and enough damage can happen in a fraction of a second. One thing you mentioned about what to do is, and you've referred to the Mexican SEC, I don't know what you call it, the SEC.
The regulators.
Our regulation is split in the United States. You see on the reports about the flash crash, which I think are interesting but not complete. The first one, the one that after 2 weeks is pretty much what you could have read in the paper, printed as a government report. The other one conspicuously does not have the word final on the cover. And there is still some disagreement. But they all say SEC/CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission. And derivatives, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission started out about commodities, meat, corn, soybeans, and things. And when they started trading financial commodities linked to indices, like stock indices, but really many others, the markets became coupled, the regulations were not coupled, so they have to learn to play well together, and it is not advantageous. It's almost as if you had the FAA for regulating aircraft and directing aircraft, and the NTSB for investigating what happened. It's almost as if you had two of those, one for flights that left during the day, one for flights that left at night. Maybe one for flights that had meals being served, one for flights that didn't. The separation really no longer makes sense in my opinion. And I think you're already there on that. So it sounds like you only have one regulator. So, and you also have the experience of having been able to look at what's gone wrong in the U.S., which goes wrong pretty often. It's pretty often. There's, like I mentioned in my talk, and I noticed a number of other people, the company Nadex, sells market technology, but they also have kind of a collection of market anomalies. They used to call them the crop circles of the market after the supposed alien hunt field. I think people decided they were a little too clever for their own good. So now maybe they just call it the anomalies. But if you look for NADX market anomalies, you'll find wherever it has moved to. And it can be pretty scary. There's lots of them. Many of them are not huge. I mean, the flash crash is still the poster child for all of these. It affected, so many widely held stocks. But there are many others that are pretty damaging to individual firms, like Knights, the Knight Capital Firm, and Bats. They lost their IPO. They may not come back to do an IPO. And we've seen layoffs at some of the other market centers. I mean, with Net did a layoff. I saw a story in the Wall Street Journal about the NYSE planning to back off on technology in the next year. So we're beginning to see the effects of arguably, reduced confidence in these highly automated markets that are capable of unpredictable behavior. And I know that they're trying to improve the traceability, the CAT system, the Consolidated Audit Trail rule was passed in July, requiring the industry to get its act together for 9 months and come up with a system. The original proposal required real-time ability for the regulators, which I think was a good idea. My colleague Marcos Lopez de Prado, you'll probably be interviewing Dexter and the team before, convinced me of that. In that circuit breakers, they flip. They're on, they're off. They're in the simplest form. And that can often create a chain reaction where one market center goes ahead and then another, and then another, and then another, and then another. Whereas if you could say, slow down, we're getting to the point where our communications channels are clogging. I mean, we all use cell phones. Most of the time they work. Some of the time they don't. Market communications is the same way. But with the cell phone, you hang up and you stop. With market communication, especially in the middle of an order, it can be dangerous. And I think understanding that and measuring the status of electronic communications across market systems is something in real time, is something that would be a good thing for our regulators to do and yours. Our regulators may be sneaking it in the side door. Sometimes it's hard to tell with pre-agencies and all these various proposals. But it's not in the final state, the July 22nd version with CATS. It's not as explicit as it was in the Verhunter one.
Okay, for Leinweber, to quite a lot, you could give us some remarks about your experience here in Mexico at the Rismatic conference so far?
Well, I'd like to thank them for their hospitality. They've been very accommodating. It's a great conference organization. I've done a lot of these, and some of them, you're on your own until you show up, and then you're out the door. This has been very well run. The material was put together nicely. I think that they give you a stack of books. And call me old-fashioned, I like the stack of books. You can, as people speak, you can make notes on the paper. I mean, when they give you a CD-ROM, you're going to write on the CD-ROM. There are crowds where people maybe have their computers and they can take it and annotate a PDF. But that's not the financial world. So I think they really are going out of their way to give people their money's worth for what they pay and the time at this event. I'd like to thank them in particular for their hospitality to me and my wife.
Dr. Leinweber, thank you very much for your time.